Good morning, everyone. This is Evelyn from Twin Flames 3344. Today is June 30th, 2017. June is the month of love, family, and community, and the 30th is the Four of Wands. So there's some stability and celebration in the air. Not only is it the 30th, but the date adds up to 46, which is the Six of Cups. The two children in the garden, the twin flames, in their innocence, best friends. And we're going into July, 7 being the number of going within, the spiritual number, the number of rest and reflection, vacation and illness. Because when you don't reflect, the universe forces you to get ill so that you'll be still and go within. So it's an exciting month to see what new happenings are in store for us. I'm sorry I've been away. I know I haven't made a video in a few weeks. I was in France with a Mary Magdalene retreat, which was amazing, and I'm actually going to tell you all about my retreat today. And I'm going to I have a few cards pulled for you for after that. So if you don't want to listen to all of what I'm going to tell you now, just go on to the end of the video so you can see the card reading. I also want to tell you that I finished my CD, and I just released it on my website, and it should be on iTunes, Amazon, Google, and a few other sites by next Friday, July 7th. And I just wanted to show it to you. It's called Ashes, Twin Towers to Twin Flames. This is the cover. See if I can get a better shot of it than that. There you go. And the inside, that's me and my dad, and then the song titles. Okay, and then here's my logo on the back. Okay, so it's available through my website, or you can just email me below. It's $14.44 for the CD. My website is Twin Flames 3344. It's www.com. So I'm really excited about that. Any support from you guys is much appreciated. Took me a long time to compile the songs that are on the CD. The first 4 songs are from my first going into a studio in 2001, and it was the week of 9/11. I happened to take that week off to just practice and go into the studio, and ended up being home watching the second plane crash into the tower. So the first 4 songs have to do with that era, the Twin Towers, and then to Twin Flames. The last 7 songs were written actually during my journey last year. So I hope you like it, and if you enjoy it, please pass on that information to others that you know. That would be really appreciated. As far as my trip to France, the word is just magical. I feel like there wasn't just a vortex there. It was like the entire area is this amazing energy vortex. So the trip was based on Mary Magdalene, but the teachings, and it's Mercedes Kirkle if you're interested. She channels Mary Magdalene, and this was her trip based around her teachings. And yes, it's a different sort of teaching than the Twin Flames, but most of it is the same. There are a few differences, but it's about the heart path. That's the title of her course, and it's about going into your heart and learning how to speak from your heart and not use words of judgments. Just identifying feelings instead of blaming other people. So it was very helpful to me as far as just practical things, as far as as what the words that you usually use and what you shouldn't use, and of course you're being your authentic self, but it teaches you how to be your authentic self, but to state what you want to say in a more pure sense. So I learned a lot from that, but the experience was just amazing. I left on June 13th, and I wrote it all down because there's no way that I could remember, excuse me, I have like a hair on me or something. There's no way I could remember all of these things. There were so many synchronicities and things that were very profound to me. I wanted to share them with you because if there's at least one of you who identifies with the connection that I made, or the connections that I made, that would be amazing to trigger someone else into an illumination of their own. So I left on June 13th, and I was due my cards and my twins' cards in the morning. And the morning that I left, we both got Mother Mary's aquamarine mantle, which was card 52, which is my twins' life lesson number. When I went to the airport, I was worried that my luggage might be overweight. I didn't want to have to pay the extra money, but I had let go of the outcome. If it was, it was. I wasn't going to worry about it. And my luggage was exactly 50 pounds. And actually, the flight staff kind of looked at each other like, that never happens. So my gate was gate 8, and I was in seat 27F. I always note the numbers. I'm very into numerology. That's what I resonate with. And on the flight, I watched 3 movies. And all of these movies, I don't know about you, but when I'm flying, I definitely feel like I'm in a different energy. And it was very surreal watching all 3 of these because they all had very profound twin flame related messages. First was The Edge of 17. Before I start, there was a seat empty next to me for my 5th dimensional twin. The Edge of 17 was about growing out of being a victim and the unification process. It was very interesting how they brought that together. So if you haven't seen it, it was a fun one to watch. During the movie, one of the times they emphasized when they showed the clock or the cell phone close up was, I can't remember if it was 12 or 1, but it was 139, and 39 was my twin soul number, so that meant a lot to me because I kept seeing 39s all week before I left. They also, in the movie, spoke about the movie Twins, which really cracked me up. The second movie I watched, which you may have seen already, is Passengers. Now that one killed me. Besides the names of the characters, there was a quote in the movie, and I'm loosely using that quote, but also extending it to parallel it, so you understand where I'm coming from. Amazing how you leave your family behind, to travel to a new world, to meet the perfect person who's right under your nose, yet completely out of reach. He betrays her by waking her up to be trapped in this alternate universe forever, apart from Earth. She beats him up, then their world starts collapsing, so they have to come together to save lives and end up saving each other and living happily ever after. The romance of a lifetime, going out on my lifeline to save him and bring him back after his lifeline broke and left him floating in space. And Spirit's connecting with me on that. And of course I was bawling at the end of that movie. And those moments in the movie where they talked about that stuff. The third movie I watched was Silence. And it was about priests in Japan. And what I mostly got from this movie is how painful it was to watch. It was about pain. It was about the one priest had seen Christ in the water, and it was about having faith and knowing That doesn't matter if you step on a symbol of your faith in the 3D. All that matters is the love. In the movie, it was about when people were going to be sacrificed if they didn't step on their faith. They would rather hold on to that faith and let their family die than show their lack of faith. But it's about us releasing those templates, those old templates. And in the movie, the priest that they started out looking for, when they finally met up with him, he had renounced his faith on the outside, because in order to survive in Japan, he had to do things their way. So he was living a different life. But that doesn't mean he didn't still have his own faith and beliefs about his life. But he was doing so much good for others by doing what he was doing. It's not about appearances, it's just about the love. That's all it is. That's all it ever is. It's just about the love. So I don't know if I recommend watching that movie, because it was very painful to watch. Because it was just pain after pain. You know, there's a lot of killing and torturing and that kind of thing. So, and it was just kind of slow and very thoughtful. So anyway, I went through Spain. So I landed in Madrid at 8:22. I was off the plane at 8:38 and waiting for the train at 8:44. My new gate for my short flight to Toulouse was gate 88, but I had to wait a little bit for that gate assignment. And also, I have to bring up that 88's been coming up a lot for me prior to that. So my first flight was 8 and then 88. And I wasn't able to get Wi-Fi in that airport, even though I should have been able to. I had no 3D connection in that airport. So it was a short second flight without issues. And then my roommate, when I got to the Holiday Inn Express, we had already met through email, but she happened to be a twin flame too. We didn't plan that. She was the only other definite twin flame in my group, although there was a few others that may have thought they were, but aren't sure. So I know that was no accident. We spent hours talking on the very first day, and then dinner with our new group. On June 15th, our first session, we were getting to know our group energies, and we were in a circle, and I already felt the energies of this group. We were meant to come together. They were all very highly spiritual people. And the person next to me, I started bawling, because I knew I'd known her forever. And then another one had trouble looking at me, and I was picking up her need to make restitution from the Holocaust, but of course I hadn't brought that up. And she had already been forgiven, so it was about her just forgiving herself. One felt like home once I hugged her. Another I knew I had happy lifetimes with as children. One liked me but had trouble looking at me, and then another, when hugging, I found my higher self saying, "Okay, you rebellious child," in a loving way. And one I found very nice and compatible with me, which was a little surprising to me upon my first judgment of her, which of course you're not supposed to judge. So, and then another was very cute, and then another was wanting to open but still in fear, but I was very at home with her. There were great pictures I got of the Black Madonna, the church where the Black Madonna is. And all of these sites were very close to Rennes-les-Bains, where I stayed in a bed and breakfast. The picture I got of the Black Madonna was peeking through the irons, and I will post them. If you go on my my Facebook page under Evelyn Stainthorpe, I've posted a lot of pictures for my trip. If you're interested, you can go there and see the pictures. There's unbelievable pictures. We had lunch on the square, just meeting, getting to know each other, and then went to the cool springs to collect water, because the community goes there to collect their drinking water, and then dip our feet in the water. And we, in a circle, sang some songs to come together and lighten things up. And we sang a song that my father had taught me, La Vie est Belle. And then we moved into the bed and breakfast from where we were when we came into Toulouse at the Holiday Inn Express. And that was in Rennes-les-Bains. We met our lovely hosts at dinner, Laurence and Eric, and I told them about my pet ants at home, and didn't realize that I was going to become the bug person of the group. But on the way home, I also saw that in the town there was a store called La Vie est Belle, the song I had taught the group from my father. Then I chatted with my roommate again till midnight. We had so much to tell each other. The next morning, that's June 16th, ants were one with me the day before. At dinner time, I was getting ants on my foot, and just my ant stories about home. And now today, it turned into flies. I always noticed in the sessions that the flies would land and sit on certain people in the group, but only certain ones. And they would stay there. They'd stay on the knee or whatever for long periods of time. We picked a card each morning, and that day we were told to dance with our eyes closed. I didn't feel inspired to share my wounds there. I felt awkward and not relaxed, like I wanted to dance or do something specific in that way. So I turned around and just stood looking into the light up on the wall, because I didn't want to face the group, even though they mostly had their eyes closed, just dancing around and doing what they wanted to do. And I cried, because I didn't want to share the sorrow in my heart with these people that I didn't know. I turned around to see a dark doorway in the castle on the poster above the altar. I asked to express this when we sat down afterwards, but Mercedes, who's the group leader, had disallowed that, which of course triggered a rejection, because I just wanted to express, a profound moment for me. So I tried to leave the room, which caused me to tear up, because I couldn't open the door. I tried like 3 times to change the lock, and I couldn't get out. And it was the universe's way of pushing me back in to tell me to deal with it. So then I watched people leave through the same door without an issue. They just walked right up and over the door. There were some underlying tensions initially that I needed to release on my own. So after that, we went, me and my roommate, we went to the store and passed La Vie est Belle and spoke to Pascal in the store that we went to, and we were talking about the difference between the words gentil and mignon as far as small things. Whereas mignon is physical, like a filet mignon, and then gentil is more the affect of a person. And we also talked about the tattoo on my daughter, which is imperfection et la beauté on her. So we were just talking about how the correct wording for that in French, the translation. But it was interesting that that statement came up. So then in my room, one of the girls from the group came up to my room to see how I was doing, because she knew that I was emotional at the group session that morning and wanted to make sure I was okay. But she also came to ask about the twin flame thing, which was really nice. I really appreciated that she came up. I had already released everything from the session because I knew it was my thing to work through, and it wasn't an issue for me, which I told her that. So then, doing cards in my room, there was a fly that kept buzzing around my head, and he'd go to the window and then come back and start buzzing me. He was trying to get my attention. So I'm like, fine, I'll go. So I got up to go to the window, and the fly stayed on the window with me when I went over to the window. I didn't realize that my window looked out over the square across the street where you could see the other girls still eating lunch. And I wasn't sure what I was meant to see. So I'm looking around for clues, and I'm not sure. So I gave the fly, I opened the window and gave a few minutes to the fly to fly out, but he didn't want to go. So I just left the window open because he didn't want to go. He was telling me something. So I went back to my bed, and as soon as I went back to my bed, the fly flew out the window. So then I looked down, and I had my camera open, and through the lens, I was seeing my bedspread, which was a fly. My bedspread was covered with flies. I don't know if it's specifically fly, but they look like flies. And it was like big as anything, you know, through my camera lens, staring me in the face right after I sat down from chatting with this fly at the window. So I took a picture of it, and then one of my email headings came up about Sophia and the beauty inside and the beauty of the life. So as I'm finishing up doing my cards, I'm doing clarification cards, I thanked God and Sophia for the day and for the fly message. And then as I put the cards down and I'm thanking them, I got the Empress and then the King of Wands. So God was annoyed that he was the King of Wands when she was Empress. So the Three of Swords then came up, and then the Emperor, which was really funny. They're really funny. They have great sense of humor. So that made me laugh, of course. And then right after that, I got the fly thing. The fly had on the wall, had told the person from the group to come to me to talk. So next, we went to the chairs of that day to the chairs of Isis and Horus. And I did visualize Isis when I was there, but after I heard, "Welcome home, Mary Magdalene," I asked Sophia, am I connected to you? Because I was told Sophia by a channel was my guide at the moment. And I already knew I was connected to other guides, and Mary Magdalene was my specific guide. But I was told Sophia, and when I was told that, I didn't really know much about Sophia, so I researched it. And most religions say different things about Sophia as far as the Holy Spirit, the feminine of God. But then I looked up a channeling of Sophia, and that's what was coming out in that as well, that she was actually the feminine of God. And she's actually Mary Magdalene. She decided to come down and incarnate on her own, but also as Mary Magdalene at another time. So I had asked her, am I connected to you or Isis? And then she made a joke about me, how dare I compare her to Isis? And that really cracked me up. And it was a beautiful day. I was taking pictures of some of the other girls. So one of the other girls was sitting on the Isis chair. These are big stone chairs. The most amazing rainbow just sprayed through the tree above her, and I have like more than 10 pictures of this rainbow as she is climbing up and around to get up on the seat, and how the rainbow is just following her. It was just her the whole time. And then after the rainbow went away, a purple light hovered over her head. So it was really cool. And then as soon as she was done, the rainbow went away. So it was the sun reflecting through the trees, but that was the only time I was able to capture that, was when she was on the chair, which of course she appreciated very much. And that'll be on my website as well, but I may end up using one of those pictures for one of my videos at some point. We did a circle song around the tree before we left that area, after that hike. We were humming the last verse she had taught us, because we were singing it initially, and this is just bringing our energies together. We're holding hands, and then the last verse we were going to hum. So I had my eyes closed, and we were humming the last verse. And I really heard the resonance of our hums together in unison, and how, all the voices weren't exactly together, but then I just heard them come in line, and then I heard like an echo in the mountains, like the whole mountain was humming with us. But when I opened my eyes, I was the only one still humming, and no one else heard the humming of the mountains. It was very profound. I didn't know that until I was walking down the mountain with one of the other girls. I'm like, isn't it so cool how that echo came into her hum, and she hadn't noticed it. And when I asked later, nobody else had either. So I guess that was a gift for me. A very cool gift. So we met in the garden before dinner, and then dinner. And there was still some block between me and one of the ladies. But the next morning at session, that person actually cleared the block for me by coming up and opening up the space for me and allowing me in, asking me about my CD, because we had brought up the music thing, or maybe she had heard it from someone else. And that brought up some other information about templates that we use online. So we had a nice conversation about that, and that really opened up the space for us and to let go some of the other things. So that day we went to Rennes Chateau, and in these churches I often get very nauseous because of all the negative energies, because I'm empathic. And I was very nauseous in this church, and this is a very touristy church. They have a nice restaurant there, and there's a couple gift shops and things like that, which was nice because we got to do a little shopping in the gift stores. I bought 2 French tarot decks there, which I'm going to show you one of the cards from one of the decks today. I had opened it up. I had bought the second deck at the second store, so I'd come back to the first store with one of the other girls and had opened the deck from the other store, and one of the cards popped out, so I wanted to show the woman from this store the deck that I bought at the other store if she hadn't seen it. And she got so excited about the card that I gave her because she was going through some big changes. So she came out from behind the counter, and she didn't speak any English. So the other girl I was with was a French teacher, so she was translating for me. And the woman spread all my cards out on the table, and she picked a few cards, and she hugged me, and she was like, thank you, thank you, thank you. This is perfect for the stuff that she's going through. And that it was her daughter who owned the other store. So it was another really nice connection that we had. So next to the portal near our bed and breakfast. And by the way, there was butterflies everywhere. Every mountain we climbed, there was butterflies everywhere. So beautiful there. And the weather was perfect. It was like sunny and 80s to 90s every day with this beautiful breeze that was like to die for. And again, I'm going up this hike, and the beautiful breeze, heard "Welcome, Mary Magdalene." Again, as I got there ahead of the others. Archangel Michael was also there, so powerful and peaceful. And a great circle session lesson and ceremonial sacrifice of one of our friends in the circle, which was very funny at the end. The Michael thing was confirmed by some of the other people. Someone had drawn Michael that morning, and then someone else had prayed to Michael for the trip. So there was another synchronicity. And the woodpecker's back at my house. He must have had a great time while I was away. During the group up on the vortex, and this vortex was so powerful. And we ended up actually being late for dinner because we didn't realize how much time had passed, and actually there was 2 people waiting down below for us. During this group, you're opening up to each other and communicating with each other from the heart, and then one person started having an issue because of something somebody else said, and then they left the group, and then that person felt bad because they didn't want them to leave the group. And then it was about like patience and allowing the energies to integrate, to let go. Because then eventually the first person came back to the group, and then those 2 were okay, but then another third person got upset because of something that Mercedes had said, because she felt it was too strong. So she ended up leaving the group. So it was just very interesting, but we ended up having a wonderful group, and then I made it funny about the one who initially got up to walk away was in the middle of the circle, so we were going to make a ceremonial sacrifice. It was very funny at the time. So after dinner, my roommate and I, we found that it was great mirroring each other's thoughts, because we trigger each other into illuminations. So each night we would talk for hours or listen to a few videos. And I just felt like I'd known her forever, and this is just on the 17th. We had just met. On the 18th, that morning, I drew Eternal Embrace, and that card in the Mary Magdalene deck, I think it was the Mary Magdalene deck, kind of looks like a combination of the Lovers and the Two of Cups. So of course I was very happy to get that, and we were going to the Fountain of Lovers that day. So first we went to the market, where they had like a flea market on one side, and then another market with lots of stands and food and tables and tables of piles of clothes that you could sort through for $2 or $3 a piece. Was great. But the Lovers Fountain, and again there was butterflies all over the place, and the theme that morning was like babies, lovers, and bees. And a butterfly landed on me 3 times and then flew through the group. When leaving the Lovers Fountain, and a lot of people went in, I didn't go all the way in, I sat at the edge and took a lot of pictures of the others. But when we were back up at the street, my roommate had bought a book there that she was opening randomly just to see what page it would open to. So I said, oh, can I do that too? So she said, sure. So I did, and when I opened the book to my random page, it opened to a prayer before union. And where the sun shone brightest on that page, it said, let the dance of union begin. So of course I was very excited when I saw that. The other syncs that day were about towers and compasses. I'd seen a compass in the gift shop the day before that I was thinking about purchasing, and then my roommate was bringing up compasses and towers as well. And then Wonder Woman came up, and I automatically thought that was Code Mary Magdalene. And so we just did more processing that evening together. On the 19th, I got the card Perception, with the eye, how we see things. And in our morning session, we did a spine-to-spine dance. And the girl that I did it with, we were the same height, so we lined up really well. And definitely felt her energy as soon as we were moving, in conjunction. But our heads hadn't touched yet. But at a certain moment, it was like our heads were drawn together in an embrace, like they were hugging. Because as soon as my head touched, it just went naturally into like the energy just shot up, and it was like, oh my God, I've known her forever. And I saw the Arcturians as well when that happened, so I knew she was related to the Arcturians. And as soon as we stopped the dance, she confirmed she felt the exact same thing. So we had a massage at 1 p.m. and then I Reiki'd our host after that because he was having some health issues. So I wanted to offer that, and he accepted. So I was happy to do that. We had dinner in the garden to music. He had pulled all sorts of instruments, a keyboard and different kinds of drums, and it was really nice. And he was playing, and then the other people in the group would just randomly get up and do whatever they wanted to do. It was so peaceful and beautiful, and of course the weather again was beautiful with this beautiful breeze. And then that evening, when falling asleep, I saw a white surrender flag sticking out of a heart as I was falling asleep. So I woke up just to tell my roommate, and then went to sleep. It was like the surrender, like in the cartoons, the surrender flag, but the white flag sticking out of a heart. The next day, June 20th, was about forgiveness. We were going to the castle of the Cathars. They were all killed at this castle. And it was the most difficult hike of the trip. It was up a very steep mountain, and one of the women stayed below who didn't feel like she could make it up. But everybody else did, and it was difficult. I was definitely challenged. And as I started up the path, I picked a buttercup. I hadn't seen buttercups. I'd seen a lot of other flowers so far, but I hadn't noticed a buttercup. So I was like, oh, the buttercup. And as soon as I did, my roommate twin was in front of me. She turns around and she said, I handed her one. She said, I just heard the song Buttercup. So that was another sync. After we went up to the castle and hung out there to feel the energies, and it was beautiful up there. I lay on one of the stones and played with the sun a bit. We came back down to the bottom. We were going to have a picnic, but we ended up not eating there. But we still laid out on the blanket for a little bit, did a little ceremonial thing. And then we laid there with all of our heads together in the middle of the blanket and just meditated for a minute or so. And what I got under this beautiful tree and this beautiful castle on this beautiful day, I heard, "Look to the sun and to the butterflies. And why would you spend so much time with your eyes closed when there's all of this to see?" And Spirit's connecting with me again. So that would come into play again tomorrow, but it was a very cool connection. Then that day, the power went out at 5:43. And my mail, I happened to notice my mail at that point was 1070, so 1070. It was a very peaceful dinner that evening. And then at 7:33, I received an email from my son. And we've been practicing the shadow work, so he understands. He's 26 years old. But he doesn't email very often. It's not, electronics aren't really his thing. But when he does now, he wants to say something really deep to me. And I really liked what he had to say, so I told my roommate. And she really liked what he had to say as well. He said, and he was thanking me, it was around Father's Day, talking about the appreciation for my dad, that he said, "To allow us to go into battle for everything we want, and the knowledge to understand why we want those certain things. The journey is bright, and the owls are leading the way for us to have a chance in life to be something with humbleness and no regret." I thought it was really beautiful. So again, we chatted again before bedtime. And something that came up from the new book that she had bought, which I'll have to get the name of that book for you. That was the one that we were randomly opening pages to. Can you trust his sense of direction fully? Your twin flame, your masculine. He wants you to trust his direction more than yours. And she wants her divine masculine to trust her radiance more than his own. Keep your heart open to each person on your path. Allow time to go away, process, and then return to show them they can trust you. Then the next day, the 21st, the card I picked was the crucifixion. So I'm okay, what does this mean? And I see everyone else in the group with these, nice, lovely cards, and I have crucifixion. But when you look at the card, it's a tree-lined path with the sun as the focus, hugged by the trees. But when you look more closely, there are many brushstrokes, shapes, and colors, some dark, some light, some hearts, butterflies, birds, and faces. But each time you look, it is different. It doesn't matter what it is, just that it is. And then at that moment, I understood the message that I'd received the day before. And if you imagine Jesus hanging on the cross, him saying, "Look to the sun and to the butterflies. And why would you spend so much time with your eyes closed when there's all of this to see?" And I just started I was in session at that time. I just started crying because immediately when I started looking at the card, I got that download. It was really beautiful. Then when I got back to my room, I was writing this information down in my notes, and I looked up the word crucifixion because I spelled it correctly, but it doesn't look quite right to you for some reason, because I'd started to put a T through the X. So there was an X, and then it starting to draw the T. So when I looked up crucifixion, the first picture I was drawn to was actually Jesus hanging on not a T cross but an X cross with a post through it, exactly what I had drawn by accident when I was trying to spell crucifixion. So that was very interesting. And then that drew me to research some other things, because we were guided to write our vows for our baptism the next day. Because during this retreat, after the lessons, we go down to the waters where Mary Magdalene used to baptize. It's the convergence of the hot springs where the salt water meets the fresh water. So I was guided from this cross to look up other things about myself to help me in writing my vows. And there's an ad at the bottom talking about 144 courses in French. So on the 21st, we went to the hot springs, convergence of fresh and salt waters, the site of the Mary Magdalene baptism. And I heard again, "Welcome home, Mary Magdalene," as 3 big black dogs came down the path. My twin flame roommate picked up their Syrian connection. One brown-eyed, blue-eyed dog walked right up to her after we sat down at the landing. Walked up to her staring, and then walked away, right through the pre-ceremony. After my vows, while being baptized in the water, there was a single thunder roll or rumble. Ever so softly, "We're here." The only thunder in our sunny day. There was no other thunder, only that moment when I was receiving the baptism from Mercedes. So it was very profound. And in the middle of this creek, right next to where I was being baptized, and I saw immediately as soon as I came to the landing, was this huge stone with a happy face on it. It looked like the Kool-Aid guy. It was blatant. Two big eyes and a big mouth on this rock made out of seaweed. I thought it was drawn on the rock when I first saw it, but it wasn't. It was natural. I knew that was for me, because whenever my twin emails, there's always a certain happy face he uses. And I had made a stone in a yoga retreat with that happy face on it. So when I saw the happy face, I knew it was for me. Nobody else saw the happy face. And it was right there, clear as day. I had to show them all. No one noticed it, and it was right there. So even actually one eye of the happy face, actually as part of that eye, turned into a heart right next to it. So depending on the angle you were looking at the happy face, it was hard to see that second eye because it became part of this heart next to it. It was very cool. I had been feeling low energy and gassy from just eating all the different foods and wines. I didn't have my usual routine by that day. And I noticed a couple of the girls pulling away from me. And also noticed I got a message about illness from a friend at home. So I was recognizing my physical drain as directly reflecting out into my environment. Even though it wasn't something, I wasn't feeling negative, but my body started to make me feel negative because I was feeling uncomfortable inside my body. And that in turn was putting out energies to these other people who are now kind of turning on to other things and not bothering with me. And then that illness message from my friend at home. On June 22nd, we went to the Mary Magdalene Cave for channeling, where she was to have spent a lot of time. And again, Mercedes channels Mary Magdalene, so this was our channeling. And in the cave, while meditating, while she was getting ready to channel, I was making out with my twin across all timelines, in all different lives. And then a group of women, which we actually had to talk to about who was going to come into the cave first, it ended up being this huge group of women outside the cave while we were doing this quiet meditation channeling. And they were talking the whole time. So besides thinking, hearing them, wishing that they wouldn't be rude and be more quiet, all of a sudden I hear this sacrificial scream from this group. And because I was in this meditative state already, I went back to a real sacrifice and being burned at the stake and basically thrown out the cliff. And I was really, like, I had this fear just came up in me that as soon as we left the cave, like, these women are going to throw us off the cliff. I was terrified in that moment. Of course, right after that, I got over that, but no one else in my group got that feeling. And actually, Mercedes had told me they were probably doing a birthing ritual, but it didn't sound like a birthing ritual to me. It sounded like bloody murder. And after that, after the cave, and we went back up, I found a special rock that looked like Mother Mary, actually. We went to this amazing lake. It was just perfect. The breeze was still perfect. It was so beautiful. And I hadn't worn my bathing suit that day, so some of the other girls did go into the lake to swim. And I was taking a lot of pictures and just appreciating the nature, and then ended up walking down to feel the water. But there was no, easy path into the water right now. It's just a lot of the shrubbery going into the water. So I had to be careful coming down the little slope so I didn't fall in. And I see a stick flying. And I'm like, what? Sticks don't fly. What was that? So I thought maybe it's just the breeze from the lake pushing a stick up in the air. The stick kind of came down, but then it came up again. And I saw it. It was being controlled. It was a stick flying, like this big. It was just flying. And as I watched the stick, and it came down again, it landed on a plant. And I watched it literally like fold on upon itself into a heart. And I thought it was like just a stick bug at the time. There were actually two stick bugs together. But when looking it up later online, it was a dragonfly mating. And it goes into a heart shape. And I'll show that picture too. That's on my Facebook as well. It was beautiful. It was like, here, this is my message for my twin again. I get a heart directly from the dragonfly's mating. And then you'd see the heart kind of collapse a little bit and then go full again and then collapse a little, full again. So of course I was taking lots of pictures, and then my foot slipped right into the water, and my I had my sneakers on, so my foot got wet, but that was okay. I got to feel the water. And then on the way back up the path, I'd asked for 2 butterflies, and I was finally able to get a picture of 2 butterflies together. And then at 11:44 that evening, I heard, "I want you to want me," that song. Is that cheap trick? I can't remember. But I need you to need me. I love you to love me. I'm begging you to beg me. So that was the song message I got that day. Then on the 23rd, I woke to 7 church bells. And I hadn't really noticed the bells all that much, because obviously the church bells are always ringing for the time. But I noticed that morning, because I awoke to the 7 church bells. Today we were going to the chapel that's on a major grid line. So very energized, and we were told about the altar and how to connect the back wall to the altar, and how intense the energy is right there. So that was what we were told, that it runs straight through the church, right down the middle. So we were greeted by this white and gray dog, who came up to us in the strangest way. He kind of just shoveled, like he was swimming on his belly, not using his legs at all. And he came up to one of the girls to greet her, so friendly. And then after he was done greeting her, came up to me and jumped up on me. But you know how it can be very invasive when a dog jumps up on you, but it was oh so gentle, like he just tapped his little paws on me. And he was a big dog, he wasn't small. And just gently held me and just looked in my eyes like he'd known me forever. It wasn't like he was panting and slobbering all over me or wanted to lick me. He was just connecting with me. He looked right in my eyes and welcomed me home. He was a really nice dog. So then we were being smudged outside the church. We did ceremonial smudging at each sacred site that we went to. So while I was waiting for the other girls to get smudged before they went into the church, the dog was greeting me. Then when I went in the church, I found it very interesting. I just felt it outside the church. it was very light and airy. I didn't feel like the other places where I would get nauseous. I wasn't feeling any anxiety about going in there. It just felt kind of light and airy, and I actually, when I walked in there, I wanted to skip, like a little kid. I wanted to skip around the church. So I started taking pictures, of the usual things that you see around the church. And the other girls, taking their moments in the energies of the church and at the altar where the special energy was supposed to be. And as I'm walking around, I was taking pictures of the ceiling right in the middle where it looked like a cross and there were some arches into it, so it was a very interesting detail. I looked at this one corner in front of me that was just empty. And I knew that was my corner, where I was sitting as a child. So I went right over to the corner. And I sat down in the corner to feel the energies, and I cried because I was so connected to that corner. It was just so loving and beautiful. And then I realized that how loud my camera was on my phone when I was taking pictures, and it was so quiet and sacred in there because everybody was having their moments. So I went to turn the volume down, but when you turn the volume down when it's in picture mode, it takes pictures. So I took 3 pictures by accident. So of course I felt that was like a guidance, so I went back to look at the pictures that I took by accident. And 2 of them were just blurry, but the third one, and I had just taken pictures of the stones at my feet, right in that corner. And the third picture that I took accidentally was of another stone more in front of me under the bench, one of the pews. And this particular stone was under the end of the bench and went under the foot of the bench and connected to the wall. So I could see the stone, and it was interesting because there was actually some dark shadowing on that side, but I was called to look on the other side of the foot, but I had to get down on my hands and knees to do that because I'm looking, there's space like this between the bench, which is not very high, so it wasn't this much space between the bench and the wall. So I got down on my hands and knees to look at the stone. And what I saw on that stone was an imprinting of a little girl, like she's praying towards the wall. And I got so excited, because here I was feeling that this was my corner as a little girl, and now I'm seeing a little girl on the stone that I was called to from an accidental picture I took. And then I look to my left, and there's a message in the wall. There's a note stuck between the stones and the wall. And this was not a church where people were sticking notes all over the church. This was the only note I saw in that church, and was in my corner. So it was very special. So then we went to lunch after that, and we had connected with an author of a book about all these different sacred structures that he had written with his partner. And we were going to purchase his book from him, and we were hoping that they would be delivered before we left, so he wouldn't have to mail them. And so he caught up with us at our lunch that day to tell us that they hadn't come in. But while he was there and we were eating lunch outside, and this was right near the Isis ruins, I guess Mercedes must have sent him some pictures from us being at that church, because it was the same day. And he was talking about the energy lines in the church, and he's like, yeah, it is the main energy line down the center of the church and the altar and all that kind of thing. But then he looks at me and he says, but the main energy line is off to the left of the church, actually. And he points to me, like right exactly where you were sitting, because he saw the picture of me sitting there. So that just made it even more special. It was very cool. So that place where I'd gone, that corner, was at the actual major vortex of the church. After that, we went to a major mall that's made in a castle, a literal castle. So talk about shopping. It was just beautiful. It was so beautiful there. The structure, there's so many structures still standing in their beauty. So of course I took a whole bunch of pictures with pigeons afterwards. I the pigeons were cracking me up because they were like all the phases of the twin flame journey, you know, when the one's following the other one around, and then they're together, and then one's by themselves in separation. So I was doing a little story of pigeons. And then to bed that night with my cards. I got Guardian Angel and Serendipity. So now we're back at the Holiday Inn Express to go back to the airport the next day. And we watched this show on TV. I don't know what it was called, but I don't know, 1600s or whatever, but there's all this adultery and being burned at the stake for adultery type things going on in this show. And I haven't really watched TV since I started my twin flame journey because I haven't been able to because of the energies. So it was just funny that I happened to watch this show with my twin roommate. And then I had a dream that night, like I was part of that, where my twin was with his wife and telling me to go away. And it was just, I was just pulled right into that show but in that show, like, the one woman had been burned at the stake for I don't know if it was adultery or being accused of doing, you know, witch type things. So my twin said she had, you know, similar dreams that night. So then my flight that was initially scheduled 11:15 was changed to 10:55. And while I was waiting in the line at the airport, there was a poster with like jazz dancers on it, but it was like the Two of Cups under July 28th in French. And then I think the August 15th was also listed in case anyone's interested in August 15th. But 28 is always significant to me because it's my address. That's also the Twin Flames card, the Two of Wands. So July 28th, in line at the airport. And then I also saw an ad with 339. Again, my twin soul number is 39. And then my gate was 46, which is the Six of Cups. And today, by the way, again. And then my first flight was 373, and my second flight changed the number to 737. So it was 373 and then 737. And the type of plane listed was 333, and in my email reservation, in my airline folder, there was 333 emails. In line, I saw gates signs, which were kind of, you know, there's other things blocking my view, but this I could see was gates 28 to 55. So again, 28 is my address and 55 is my age, but 28 is also the twin flames, or the Two of Wands, and then the 55 is the truth. This is the Ace of Swords. And also it's that, you know, double change, which is new beginnings. So, and seat 23, and 23 is a number I've brought up before. It's just always been a number that's special to me. And if you look at my twins' numbers between their soul number and their outer personality, it's 23. So that's the connection I've made. And I was group 7. And then at 10:10, I heard the song, "And I Will Always Love You," the Dolly Parton song that's also in the Whitney Houston movie, you know, Bittersweet Memories. So Spirit's connecting with me on that. So then on the 25th, I was officially home. Takes me a bit to get over my jet lag and that kind of thing. But I started singing when I was doing my cards again that morning, and this time it was Maria from West Side Story. Maria, I've just met a girl named Maria. And when you go into the other part of the song, it's say it loud, and it's music playing, say it soft, and it's almost like praying. Maria. And that was like, instead of the song being from my twin, it was my welcome home from Mary Magdalene. So that was very cool. So I hope you enjoyed all my syncs and special moments about my trip. I'm still trying to get over my trip as far as energetically. That's why I haven't made a video since I got home. Just trying to integrate my own energies. I feel like just being out in nature that whole time was very grounding for me and able to keep me cleared that whole time. But now that I'm back in my city area, I'm definitely finding it a little bit more of a challenge. And then my knee setting in again, where I wasn't having that much difficulty with it in France. So just trying to clear all of that. So now I'm going to go to the cards I pulled for you. And I'm doing them a little bit differently. I pulled my oracle cards the way I normally do for you. And I pulled one card from my new French deck, but I have to do that ahead of time because I have to look up the meaning of the card because they're in French. But the normal cards, I didn't do the usual spread that I do. I asked questions. So, the first question I asked was, what does the Divine Masculine want the Divine Feminine to know? We got the Four of Wands. And that's the 30th. Remember I said the 30th is the Four of Wands, and the day added today is the 46, which is the Six of Cups. And this I clarified with the Sun and the Page of Pentacles. So what I immediately got when I saw this card was the Divine Masculine telling the Divine Feminine, I'm stable, and this also came out with that card as kind of another clarifier, is the King of Pentacles. He wants you to know that he's got it. He's stable and manifesting stability. Okay, he's the King of Pentacles. He is the master of manifesting money, but also just practical things in life. He's letting you know he's got it. He's got it taken care of. Then I asked, what do you want from the Divine Feminine? And I got the Seven of Swords, clarified by the Ace of Pentacles and the Six of Cups. So there's two things I got from this. The first thing was that he wants us to take a risk. And then when I looked at it again later, it was him literally, we're asking, what do you want from the Divine Feminine? And he's saying, almost all of you. He's taking most of the swords, but he's leaving a couple behind. But the Ace of Pentacles is, he wants us to have a practical new beginning with him. And the Six of Cups. It's really beautiful. Because in the traditional Rider-Waite tarot, the Ace of Pentacles is like true contentment. So it's really like an all-around beautiful card. But it's also about an offering for a practical new beginning with the Six of Cups. He's saying, take a risk on me. Then I asked, sorry, looking for my note. Alright, we had what do you want from me? Oh, and of course the third question is, how do you feel about the Divine Feminine? And I noticed this morning when doing the same question for myself, he's very stubborn in answering. He won't show his feelings. So I was interested to see what the collective answer was going to be. So in asking, how do you feel for me? And now, given that they don't like to talk about feelings, because when I was asking my twin personally, I couldn't get any cups out of him until the end, but that was something different. So the card we received is the Eight of Cups. So he's showing you just a little bit of what he feels. I mean, he feels a lot, but he's not willing to disclose. There's one cup missing. You're asking him how he feels about you. You're that one cup missing. But he's also, walking away from something he spent a long time building. So there's still some healing to do. And the clarification cards were the Three of Swords and the Two of Cups reversed. So, he's healing from a broken heart. So he's basically, asking for time. He needs time to heal. But then, of course, the stubborn person that I am, and wanting more answer than that, received a few different groupings of cards. So first, I said, how is it that you feel about the Divine Feminine? And then we got the Queen of Swords. So he thinks we're the truth teller, right? And that we've been hurt, but we tell the truth. And then we got the High Priestess. And that we're psychic, intuitive, sensitive. But then we also got, because here he's starting to open up just a little bit, the Ace of Wands. He feels passion. It's a little bit towards the feelings. And then the Ace of Pentacles came up again. He wants to offer a practical new beginning, which this is a biggie for him. And then these two cards came up. The Six of Cups came up again, and then the Four of Cups. He's saying, how do you feel about me? Like, will you be my best friend? And I'm scared of love. I'm scared of love. Will we be my best friend? And Spirit's connecting with me, by the way. And then the final card of the clarification was, I'm scared of love, but I also have the ability to make magic. So that was your answer. How does he feel about you? The underlying energies from the bottom of the decks were the Judgment card. So there's definitely the call to action, but it's also, he's probably feeling judged by you. We also have the King of Cups. So there's a huge loving energy there, the master of his emotions. It's there, it's in him. And then the bottom of the mini deck was the Hangman. So here's his logical self trying to think in an illogical way, irrationally. Looking into your heart space, which he deems irrational. It's not logic. But he's trying to see things from a different perspective. And then from the numerology deck, this is for the advice for the Divine Masculine, is teaching and learning, number 57, and 57 is the Three of Swords again. So he's learning about love and heartbreak. Teaching and learning. And this is actually purple. So purple is indigo to crown, and then the green center, which is the heart. It's also healing, physical healing. So healing the heart through the crown. And then I pulled from the Tarot of Sexual Magic, one for each. So this is the advice for the masculine and then the advice for the feminine. The advice for the masculine was the Lover's card. Now you may ask, yes, but that's the Lover's card that has 3 people in it. This is the advice for the masculine. It's telling the masculine whether you are being truthful with yourself about it or not, you're in a 3-way relationship. Your twin is connected to you. You're not loving yourself. You're in a 3-way relationship, and that's not serving you. You need to decide what's real, who you are, and what you want. You need to go within and feel your feelings, and know who you are, and act upon your authenticity. But it's also about when the Divine Masculine comes in. The Divine Masculine comes as the lover. He's to come in to give the feminine attention because she radiates. The advice for the Divine Feminine is the Ace of Pentacles again. She's to come to the masculine in a practical way because he needs to see that. He needs to know that she's going to follow his direction, that he has faith in his direction. Okay, the practical nitty-gritty. And then from the Romance Angels, this was for both twins. We got Passion and Retreat. Passion says, allow your heart and soul to sing with joy. And he's got wings. And he's dipping her. And Retreat has its time to disconnect from the world. And they're actually walking down a path exactly like the paths I was just on. A heart path. And now I'm going to show you my new deck. And this is the card. These cards are so beautiful. I was so excited to get this deck. But they are in French. So this card is called The Bridge to Your Future. Okay, and I'll read it to you. And actually, this is one of the less colorful cards in the deck. There's so much color in this deck. They're so beautiful. And where did I write it down? I wrote it down in the book. So here it is. So it is The Bridge of the Future is the card title, and it says, consider the best, and then impregnate this idea with adore or ardor. It will tend to become real. So it's saying to always look to the positive side, because you're manifesting whatever you think about and feel. And it's like the stairway to heaven. Such a beautiful deck. I just want to pull out just one other card just to show you the beautiful colors in this deck. I think this was the first one I saw. That might be on the, yeah, this is on the cover of the box. It's hard to see on my computer. But it has trees inside that heart in a sunshiny day. This is the, I'll show you the box. Okay. The Doors of Intuition. It's by Vanessa Milsarek and Bridget Barbarain. And then I pulled from my usual 3 oracle decks. From the Ascension deck, we got Archangel Metatron. It's number 27. 27 is the Ace of Wands again, so we had that in the spread. So it's passionate new beginnings and creativity. And it's a 9. It's the 7 of going within, working through the relationship to produce universal selflessness. You are blessed to receive this card, for the mighty universal angel Metatron, who is coordinating the ascension of the planet, is touching you. He is illuminating your aura with his golden orange light as he works with your stellar gateway chakra. Your message is to relax and allow Metatron's wings to enfold you. Ask to visit him at his ascension retreat in Luxor during meditation or sleep so that you can receive his guidance. This may come as a thought, whisper, or a feeling. When you ask sincerely for help on your ascension journey, Metatron will open new doors for you and guide you. And the affirmation is, I attune to Archangel Metatron today. Okay. So, he's one of the masters of the twin flames coming together. So, we're being asked to connect with Metatron today. And if you're interested, the bottom of that deck was the gold ray of Christ, which is 5. And the affirmation is, I am the gold ray of Christ. Then Jesus is the other big guy on the twin flame union process. So they came up together. In the past life deck, we got wisdom and a unicorn. And the bottom of that deck is authority figures. So, reminding us to use our wisdom about maybe authority figures. Maybe we still have some triggers from this life or past lives about authority figures controlling us. And remembering to be wise. To be the owl, like in my son's message. And not take things the way you hear them. To read between the words, especially with our masculines. When they're not always telling you the truth, you can read their body language or the intonation of their voice. There are messages being sent in between the words. And then from the journey of love, we got eruption of light. And these are specifically advice for the masculine. So 11, eruption of light, I'm going to read. Your every prayer is power-packed eruption of light beamed into the divine presence. Some pray with fear or doubt, as though the prayer is not doing much at all. Yet you understand that prayer is powerful, that it is divine action set in motion. Your power of divine prayer emerges from your heart and out through your throat. Whether you speak or sing your prayer silently within your own mind or aloud for all the world to hear, let your prayers be vocalized as feeling expressed to the divine, in words or song if you choose. You have the power to heal at your fingertips and vocal cords. Through your voice you can heal. Let your hands be joined in prayer and Spirit's connecting with me. Let your hands be joined in prayer position at your heart and your mouth open to let the breath of your spirit move through your throat, creating sound. As you speak it, so it shall be. This oracle holds a message for you. Your words have more power than you realize, and you have a special ability to heal with words, and Spirit's connecting with me again, to bring light where it is needed and to uplift through simple kindness spoken. You also have a message to bring. It might be an urge to write or speak on topics that are close to your heart. You may also simply have the need at a soul level to share from the heart with others when you're engaged in conversations. The oracle says your voice is a part of your power. Do use it. And the poem simply states, life begins with love to complete itself again. Symmetry is born. Okay. So, excited. looking forward to see what comes this month. Remember, it is a 7-month. 7 is of going within. It's quiet vacation time of the mind, but of the heart. And then we go into 8. That's the go time. That's action. Big action. And Lionsgate 8/8. And my parents' anniversary is 8/9. It's very interesting. They would have been married 60 years exactly on August 9th. So, just a reminder of my website, www.twinflames3344.com, for Twin Flame coaching, tarot reads, numerology, Reiki, healing, and then of course my CD is available. It's $14.44 to PayPal. You can just email me below to confirm an address you want it sent to, or if you want in a coaching center, I am giving a free CD away with my 90-minute session. So if you would like my services, please email me below or visit my website. Thank you so much for your time. So much light and love to everyone. Hang in there. I'm right there with you. You know, did have a few tears, coming down from my jet lag, but it's all good. Okay, stay positive and be good to yourself. Be well.